A poor girl was denied entry to the elite school. Your skin is too dark for excellence. 10 years later, she returned as the UN's youngest climate chief and fired the headmaster. The rain poured down like a flood from the heavens, crashing onto the asphalt streets of Kisaru, the capital of Enzala, kicking up a thick, white mist. Dawn hadn't fully broken yet, and the air was bitingly cold. A battered bicycle leaned crookedly against the tall, black iron gates of New Light Academy, its intricate metalwork looming over the entrance. Standing beside it was a small girl, drenched from head to toe, her hair plastered to her forehead. Rain, or maybe TRS, streamed down her deep brown cheeks. Her name was Imy, 14 years old, from a Maasai village on the fringes of the arid western region called Stone Springs. She was ba refoot, her feet caked in mud, her toes numb from the cold. The faded, ill-fitting school uniform she wore had been bought by her mother after selling an entire season's worth of corn at the second-hand market. Clutched tightly in her RMS was an oil paper envelope, her admission letter, her only hope. The iron gate stood shut like an impenetrable wall. Inside the Guardi booth, a middle-aged man in a crisp uniform and a peaked cap eyed her through the glass, his expression indifferent. Hey, kid, he called out, sliding the window open, his voice dripping with annoyance. You're in the wrong place. This is New Light Academy, not some chai-righty shelter. Where your parents. Go home, you're in the way. Aya wiped the rain from her face, forcing her voice to stay steady. Sir, I'm not lost. I'm Imy. Today is registration day. This is my admission letter. She held out the envelope with trembling hands. The Guardi glanced at it and scoffed. Admission letter? You don't joke around. New Light only takes the best students, kids whose families could pay 10 times what yours makes in a year. Look at you, ba refoot, we ring hand-me-downs, straight out of some backwater village. Get lost, I've got work to do. Aya's stomach dropped, but the bright red stamp and the principal's signature on the letter burned in her grip like a brand. She swallowed hard, rainwater catching in her throat, but she raised her voice louder. IEA Renedni spot. I won first place in the national math competition. This is a special admission, let me in. Just then, a long black umbrella unfolded from inside the gates. A man in a tailored gray suit and a dark red tie stepped out, his hair slicked back, his eyes cold behind gold-rimmed glasses. It was New Light Academy's principal, Ka Rusine Gang. He glanced down at the mud splattering his polished shoes, then at Aya, his gaze crawling over her like she was something dirty. What's going on, Emayurkas? His voice was deep, authoritative. The Guardi snapped to attention. Principal, this girl claims she won the math competition and has an admission letter. Won't leave. Principal Ngang stepped closer, tilting his umbrella slightly so that rainwater dripped onto Aya's shoulder, icy against her skin. He didn't take the envelope. Instead, he looked down at her, his lips curling into a faint, mocking smirk. Imy, he said her name slowly, as if tasting something foreign, unpleasant. First place in the national math competition, ha. He shook his head, his eyes lingering on her dark skin like he was assessing the worth of ba Renland. Child, he said, his voice suddenly soft, but in a way that made her chest tighten, I admire your passion. But you must understand, New Light Academy is the beacon of excellence in Enzala, in all of East Africa. We mold the future leaders of this nation, the kind of people who will stand on the world stage. He paused, his gaze sliding over her soaked, mud-splattered uniform and ba feet. His voice turned to ice. And your skin is too dark. Your roots are too low. You smell like dirt and livestock. That kind of quality doesn't belong here. You don't deserve this place. Don't deserve it. Aya's voice cracked like sandpaper. Principal, I got in on my scores. The letter says scores. Ngan cut her off with a mocking laugh. Scores are just a key, not a pass. We look for well-rounded students, potential, image. A student who represents New Light must have the right background, the right BEA ring. You don't have it. Then he reached out, not to take the envelope, but to snatch it from her shaking hands. He tore open the oil paper wrapping, revealing the two pieces of paper inside her National Math Competition AWA RD and New Light Academy's special admission letter. Right in front of her, under the GWA RD's indifferent sta re, Principal Ka Rusin Gong, the so-called elite of Gonzalez education system, slowly, deliberately, ripped them to shreds. The pieces fluttered like white butterflies in the storm before being swallowed by the rain. Sin Gong held the last scrap between his fingers before letting it drop into the mud. This is your excellence. Worthless. Washed away. Go home, child. Your greatness belongs in the fields, with the goats. Not here. He snapped his umbrella shut, turning to the GWA Road Mayorkas, keep the gate secure. No disturbances. Then he walked away, his polished shoes clicking against the dry floor of the entrance hall, never looking back. The heavy iron gate slammed shut behind him with a final, hollow thud. The world seemed to go silent. Only the rain remained, hammering against the gate, the ground, her. Aya stood frozen, her blood turned to ice. She read at the scraps of paper dissolving into the mud, being dragged toward the gutter by the filthy water. Her mother counting coins under the dim lamplight. Her grandmother singing under the stars about ancestors who found water in the drought. Herself scratching numbers into the dirt until her fingers bled. All of it, every sacrifice, every dream, was crushed in this moment, by this rain, by this gate, by those cold eyes behind gold-rimmed glasses. Humiliation and despair crashed over her like a tidal wave. Her knees buckled, and she collapsed into the mud, her uniform soaked, her skin caked in filth. Rain and hot tears streaked down her face. But she didn't cry out. She bit her lip until she tasted blood. TRS for the weak, she told herself. And she refused to be weak. Trembling, she reached down, not for the scraps of paper, they were already gone, but into the cold, thick mud beneath her. She grabbed a fistful of it, mixed with rainwater and the shredded remains of her dreams. Then, under the GWA RD's stunned gaze, with the faint sound of morning recitations drifting from inside the school, the girl Excellence had rejected, lifted that handful of mud and paper scraps to her mouth. And she tight. The grit of dirt, the sour tang of wet paper, the cold sting of rain, she chewed it all, swallowing it down like she was devouring the injustice, the cruelty, the whole rotten world. Then she lifted her head, rain washing the mud from her face, revealing eyes burning with fire. She read at those closed gates, the symbol of elite privilege, and with every ounce of strength left in her, she screamed. Today, you judge me by my skin. You humiliate me with dirt. She swallowed the last of the mud, her lips twisting into something fierce, unstoppable. But one day, this land will prove who's truly human. Who deserves to be called excellent? The rain kept falling, pounding against the gates, against the girl kneeling in the filth. The iron doors didn't budge, cold, unmoving. But no one knew it yet. A seed, trampled into the mud, was already growing in the darkness. Waiting. Ready to rise. Aya didn't know how long she knelt in the mud, only that her legs had gone numb, and the storm had faded into a cold drizzle. Slowly, like a hollow shell, she pushed herself up. Refoot, step by step, she walked away from those iron gates that stood for excellence. Every step felt like walking on knives. Every step tore at her heart. She didn't look back. Behind her, the brightly lit school building, Principal Ngai's ICSTA they were read into her soul. 3 days later, she stumbled back into Stone Springs. She was thinner now, her eyes empty, her school uniform stiff with dried mud and mildew. Her mother, Nala, sat outside their low clay hut, weaving baskets to trade for salt and candles. When she saw Aya, her wrinkled face flickered with relief, then dread. Aya didn't speak. She just walked inside, curled up on her wooden plank bed, and shut the world out. The village elders came that evening. They sat by the fire, puffing on their pipes, smoke curling around their weathered faces. Wise child, old man Caprono rasped, books, that's a city game. We live by our cattle, our courage, the wisdom of our ancestors. The land may sta but if the herds survive, so do we. Your mother raised you to rry well, bea are strong sons, keep our blood alive. What good is reading? Will it put milk in your cup? Will it stop the droughts? Why humiliate yourself? Another elder nodded. That Ngong, his father, licked the colonizer's boots. Now his son sits in a big chair, still looking down on us black mud people. You think you can fight that? No. Accept your place, child. Live quietly. That's the best way. Aya listened in the DRK, their words like needles in her skin. They weren't wrong. In Stone Springs, in this land choked by drought and poverty, survival was excellence. But her teeth split. Opened by those iron gates, wouldn't heal. She remembered her grandmother's last words. Aya, mother earth doesn't re about skin. The deepest roots grow in the rightest rock. That night, Aya didn't sleep. Under the moonlight, she slipped out of the village and into an old, crumbling cattle shed. In a dry corner, she picked up a piece of red wood and began writing on the cracked clay walls, Pythagorean theorem, quadratic formulas, geometric proofs. The math that had won her first place. Here, in this ruined shed, it was her only weapon. Moonlight spilled through the broken roof, lighting up the numbers, her fingers tracing them like sacred words. Square root 2 equals 1.414 pi is 3.14 numbers don't re about skin. They belong to whoever understands them. She pulled out her grandmother's old book wrapped in antelope hide, its pages yellowed and frayed. Inside were sketches of plants, Maasai songs, healing rhymes. One page showed a DRK. Tuber calanda trs of the earth hides in dry soil. Rises with rain. Food for the starving. Aya's breath caught. Grandmother had said this root saved their tribe during the Great Drought. It stored water deep underground, surviving where nothing else could. She read out at the moonlit wasteland, and lightning struck her mind. What if we could grow calanda or something like it? Suddenly, her grandmother's rhymes weren't just songs, they were data. When golden-winged birds fly north, rain comes in 3 days. Monsoon patterns. Bird migration. Cattle refuse to leave the pen, the mountain god size. Air pressure changing, humidity rising. Root building models outside the shed, tiny water systems made of sticks, stones, and clay. She watched how rain flowed, how roots drank, how soil held moisture. She mixed charcoal and calanda powder, testing ways to trap water in dirt. Days passed. The village whispered, "Moise. Girl has gone mad. Playing with mud instead of tending cattle." Her mother said nothing. Just left bowls of corn porridge by the shed. Then, one scorching afternoon, a dusty jeep rolled into the village. Out stepped young people in green Africa t-shirts, environmental researchers. Their leader, Lila, from Rwanda, he whispers about the crazy girl and her magic shed. Curious, she followed the rumors. What she saw stunned her. Clay walls covered in equations. A miniature landscape, sticks as trees, stones as hills, tiny canals directing imaginary rain. And Aya, hunched over, adjusting the flow of a river with a twig. Lila gasped. This is brilliant. Aya jerked up, defensive. Lila raised her hands. I'm not here to steal. I'm Lila, Green Africa. Your model, it's better than anything we've designed. She knelt, eyes shining. We're going to the East Africa Youth Innovation Fair in Kisaru next month. You should come. Show them how your ancestors' wisdom can fight climate change. Aya's ERT pounded. Kisaru. The city that had spat her out. But also, Libra Rise. Labs. People who might listen. Lila saw the hunger in her eyes. This is your stage, Aya. Let the world see Maasai wisdom isn't tribal nonsense. It's survival science. Weeks later, Aya stood in the Kisaru Expo Center, wearing a red Maasai dress beaded by her mother. Her display, a replica of her model, her grandmother's book, drawings of calanda. She took a deep breath and began in Swahili. Honored judges, my name is IMY. I come from Stone Springs. Today, I'll tell you the secret of rain. Not from satellites, but from my grandmother's songs, from the pulse of the EARTH. Her voice shook at first, but grew stronger as she explained droughts, roots, and water systems. Then, a white-haired judge interrupted in English, Miss, charming story. But speak English. We can't understand your tribal technical terms. We need science, not folklore. The room froze. Aya's chest tightened. Again, tribal. Again, not good enough. But this time, she didn't crumble. She straightened her spine. And answered, in perfect, cutting English, you call my language tribal, but it taught me how to feed 10 people with 1 drop of water. Your proper English build dams that leak and expensive systems that fail on our land. I'm not here to beg for your understanding. I'm here to say, while you were in labs, my grandmother predicted monsoons with her rhymes. True wisdom has no language. It only needs roots in the soil. Silence. Then clapping. First scattered, then ROA ring. Lila cheered, TRS in her eyes. The judge sat stiff, face red. Aya stood in the applause, her gaze drifting past the crowd, back to those iron gates. She knew this was just the beginning. Her arithmetic lesson had only written its first equation. This version keeps the raw emotion, cultural depth, and defiance of your original while making it flow naturally in English. Let me know if you'd like any tweaks. Under the bright lights of the Kisaru Innovation Fair, applause crashed over IMY like a wave. She stood at her display, cheeks still flushed from her speech, fingers trembling slightly around the trophy in her hands. Second place, Youth Innovation Awa rode small, but heavy. Like a stone on her chest. Or a spa RK in the div RK. The prize money, 5,000 shillings, made her HRT race. Back in Stone Springs, that was 2 Rs worth of her mother's corn and goat milk sales. Enough to build a new hut. Enough to buy salt for Rs. After the ceremony, Lila hugged her, ecstatic. Aya. This isn't just an Awa RD, it's your ticket out. I know recruiters at the African Futures Academy in Cairo. They're looking for young scientists like you. Cairo. The word sent a jolt through her. A city of Libra Rise Labs. People who might understand her rainwater models. The thought burned brighter than any Fia or. The copper Kala are back in Stone Springs. The money burned a hole in the village. Gossip. Moist girl got lucky. Now she'll waste it all chasing city dreams. Cairo. She'll come back in a coffin. Her mother, Nala, stayed silent for a long time. Then she unwrapped a small oilcloth bundle, her most precious belonging. Amase copper Kala are, etched with ancient symbols. Your great-grandmother wore this when she escaped slave traders, Nala said, fastening it around Aya's neck. It's Ca rise the courage of our blood. Wherever you go, remember your RK skin is a mirror, not shame. Leah RN, but never forget your roots. The night before leaving, I returned to the broken shed. On the clay walls, she wrote one last time, Kalanda's secrets, her rainwater designs, every thought on the language of rain. She knew Cairo would demand new weapons. The invisible walls. The African Futures Academy sat lush and modern by the Nile. But on her first day, Aya felt the BA Ryers. Her RK skin. Her Maasai dress. Her accented English. Whispers followed her. Look, the bush girl dug up from some tribe. In the lab, her professor, a man with gold-rimmed glasses, forgot to teach her the soil analyzer. Your project is quaint, he said, but science requires real methods. Your grandmother's rhymes are rent references. Aya's chest tightened. Same prejudice. New mask. But she didn't break. By day, she studied. By night, she sneaked back into the lab, replaying stolen recordings of the professor's demonstrations, teaching herself the machines. Her fingers froze. Her eyes burned. She didn't stop. The lie in the data. Digging into climate research, Aya uncovered a horrifying truth. The global models predicting rains in Nzala wrong. They ignored Africa's unique weather patterns. Their data came mostly from cities, not drylands like Stone Springs. Worst of all, they dismissed traditional farming as backward, pushing chemical-heavy crops that destroyed the soil. They create problems with their science, then sell us expensive solutions, she wrote. Pen NEARLYT ring the paper. An idea ignited. What if she built a running system combining satellite data and her grandmother's wisdom? Cloud shapes from songs. Bird migration paths. Cow behavior before storms. She coded. Analyzed. Compa read. The result. Her grandmother's rhymes predicted rains with 70% accuracy, beating the fancy Western models. The rejection. She poured her findings into a paper, WA runnings rooted in indigenous knowledge. Submitted it to the UN Environment Agency. The reply came a week later, cold, impersonal. Your research shows promise but lacks proper academic formatting. Resubmit after Leah Renning. International Standa RDS. No signature. Just a department code. Aya stood on a Cairo street, numb. Format Standa RDS. Her life's work, reduced to a formatting error. It was Principal Ngang's office all over again. The wall hadn't disappeared. It had just moved. The fire spreads. Then Lila called, frantic. Aya. Someone leaked your draft online. It's gone viral. Aya pulled up African Science Light, an open research platform. Her paper. 12,843 downloads. Comments flooded in from Kenya, Tanzania, Uganda. This is what our grandparents taught. Why did experts call it superstition? Your calendar saved my village last drought. IMY, teach us. Tears streamed down her face, not from shame, but from being seen. Her knowledge wasn't primitive. It was alive. The real classroom. Weeks later, volunteering in a Cairo slum, I saw something that shattered her. A group of BA refute kids huddled around a cracked phone, watching a slideshow. Her slideshow. Her paper. Her language of rain. A boy pointed at the calendar diagram, grinning. This is what Grandpa taught. It works. I knelt, voice shaking. You understand this? Yes, he said. We need water every day. Teach us how to build your traps. And right there, in the dust, IMY wept. She finally understood. Her knowledge wasn't hers alone. It belonged to every child digging for hope in dry soil. And she was just the one passing the torch. Aya's paper going viral on African Science Light was like a gust of wind, blowing away the shadows in her heart. Suddenly, doors opened at the African Futures Academy. A professor of indigenous ecology took her under his wing, securing her a small research grant. Without hesitation, Aya packed her hair, simple tools, seeds, blueprints, and headed home to Stone Springs. Not for applause. For war. Elder Caprono met her at the village edge, leaning on his cane. Back so soon? Did Cairo's big knowledge spit you out? Others eyed her strange gadgets, plastic pipes, filters, precious calendar tubers, with suspicion. White experts brought magic water pumps too, a herdsman sneered, spitting. Now they rust in the dirt. What can you do? Even her mother, Nala, watched with quiet fear. Her daughter's dreams were stars beautiful, but brittle. Then came the real challenge. Mwangi, the village witch doctor, beat his drum under the sacred fig tree. The EARTH mother sleeps, he rasped, pointing at Aya's chosen plot. Digging her skin, stealing her blood, groundwater, this wakes the mountain god's wrath. Drought. Plague. Panic spread. Aya's project froze. She didn't flinch. In this land, faith moved mountains. So she walked up to Mwangi, plucked a clean calendar tuber from her bag and bit into it raw. The crowd gasped. Elder, she said calmly, chewing the bitter, water-rich flesh, if this is the mountain god's curse, let it kill me. But if it's his gift to survive drought, then using it honors him most. She spat the chewed pulp into her palm, a natural water-locking gel. Look. This is the mountain god's wisdom. We don't fight him, we learn from him. Silence. Then murmurs. Mwangi's eyes narrowed, but he didn't stop her. With her mother and a few brave teens, Aya began. They dug trenches on the slope, laid cheap plastic pipes, built filters from clay pots and gravel, planted calanda and drought-resistant seeds, marked traditional Maasai cattle paths with bamboo stakes, future grazing routes. Then, tiny green shoots broke ground. Hope flickered. Until the storm came. Lila's warning arrived first. Principal Ngong had pulled strings, diverting government anti-desert funds to his son's Pan-African Ecotech, a rival company pushing expensive, electric-powered sprinklers. 10 times Aya's cost. That night, rain lashed the village. Nala shook Aya awake. Someone's digging up the canals. Aya sprinted outside. Lightning flashed, revealing shadowy figures hacking at her main water channel. Muddy torrents gushed away from her storage ponds. Stop. She screamed. The saboteurs fled. But the damage was done. Aya grabbed the ala RM gong, pounding it till her hands bled. Help. Our water's dying. The green will drown. No one came at first. Then, they saw her. Drenched. Bleeding. Kneeling in the mud like a madwoman, clawing at the collapsing ditch with bare hands. Something broke in them. The herdsmen came. The basket weavers came. Even Elder Caprono limped out with a shovel. Together, under hammering rain, they stuffed sandbags into the breach. Aya's fingers split on sharp rocks. Blood mixed with rainwater. But they held. At dawn, exhausted, Aya collapsed by the repaired canal. Murky water now flowed right into her ponds. She dragged herself up, raised a mud-caked, bloody fist, and held at the sky. They want to bury our oasis. A pause. Then, with the village's breath behind her, we'll plant gardens in their graves. The first dawn after the storm broke over Stone Springs, sunlight piercing the gloom to reveal the repaired water channels and the faint green shoots in the experimental field. IMY and her villagers hadn't just patched a ditch, they'd built a dam in people's hearts. Word spread. Skeptics came. They learned to measure slopes with sticks, mix calanda pulp with clay to lock in moisture. The dead land began to breathe. When Aya's project won the African Youth Science Prize, she didn't spend the money on herself. She built something bolder, the Girls' Science Camp. Just a cluster of mud huts near the field, its wooden sign "Ca Ved with a knowledge has no skin. It belongs to all who look at the stars. Here, girls rejected by schools, for poverty, arly mariage de rk skin, or not smart enough, found a home. Not days smelled of arth and hunger, for food, yes, but more for learning. Aya taught math, but the ERT of the camp was oral science. Girls shared masai luo, Kalenjin wisdom passed down from mothers. Grandma said when ants pile dirt high at their holes, rain comes in 3 days. Aya had them track ant behavior, link it to barometric pressure. These mother tongue ecology scrolls became the camp's treasure. Principal Ngang, the elite in his cushy office, felt the threat. A girl he'd crushed was now teaching more unworthy minds unthinkable. His media allies launched the attack, science camp or witchcraft scam, grandma's wisdom, superstition in disguise, IMY, scientist or tribal witch doctor. Photos were twisted, herb lessons became DRK rituals, girls discussing songs became cult indoctrination. Even BARK paper data logs were called voodoo cha RMS. Whispers poisoned the village, told you it was devil work. She's stealing donor money. Then the government froze their funds, environmental concerns. The camp sta girls' cheeks hollowed. We fight back, Aya told her team. They called a public hearing. No fancy slides, just proof. Calanda tubers fat with water. Ant rain correlation notebooks. The ecology scrolls, science verified. A report, 300% yield increase in test fields. As Aya spoke, officials squirmed. But Ngang's lackey, a slick politician, cut in cute stories. But where's your nature paper without peer review? This is just folklore. Aya didn't blink. Peer review. She turned to the malnourished FAMers. Then explain why elite satellite models, costing billions, failed to predict 5 droughts that ruined you, while my folklore warned of 3 sandstorms, saving 500 lives. Silence. The politician's smile froze. That night, an explosion. Aya woke to smoke, sprinted outside. The main hut was ablaze. The scrolls. She lunged into the inferno, found the iron chest holding the girl's life work. Flames licked her ARMS as she dragged it out. Outside, she collapsed, hugging the scorched box, watching the camp burn. Through the smoke, she glimpsed a black SUV speeding away in Gang Car. Her skin blistered, but her voice was steel. Burn all you want. Ash makes the richest soil. She looked past the flames to the sprouting fields, the silent mountains. And we will grow. News of the girls' science camp burning spread like wildfire across Africa. Lila blasted photos and videos online. Aya clutching the red metal box, her TRS glinting in the firelight, her words, "Ash makes the richest soil." The internet exploded. Hashtag justice for Aya, hashtag knowledge is not crime. Scientists, activists, even the UN Secretary General took notice. He called Aya a beacon of hope and invited her to New York for the Global Youth Climate Summit. When the letter reached Stone Springs, the village erupted. Elder Caprona wept. "Child, you'll speak to the sky people now." Her mother, Nala, unwrapped her last treasure, the ancient Masai copper kala. But instead of giving it as is, she had it melted down and reforged into a sleek silver band. "The tribal Mar King Shar Per the never. Go, Nala said, fastening it around Aya's neck. "Carryr blood in our scars, tell them Africa isn't a problem to fix. We a Reed's solution." Manhattan hit Aya like a bucket of ice water. The skyscrapers. The rush. The hotel sheets so stiff they crackled. At the summit's first meeting, a Nordic delegate bragged about his country's carbon neutral tech, suggesting Africa follow our model. When Aya's turn came, she didn't argue. She placed 2 things on the table for silver Masai Kala. A fire-scorched copy of her grandmother's herb book. Your advanced models. She nodded at the PowerPoint. "In my village, that's like watering crops with seawater, expensive poison. We don't need your pity. We need respect for our wisdom." She showed them with a Calanda tuber's water-storing secret. The Ant Rain Almanac, 70% accurate, 0 satellites. Photos of the camp's ashes. A UN official pulled her aside later, moving stories. "But real science needs peer-reviewed papers, not folk rhymes." Aya's stomach dropped. Same wall. News City. The grand finale was a public speech. When Aya stepped on stage, she didn't grab the mic, she pulled out a Masai war drum. Boom. 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 The room froze. This isn't a performance, she shouted. This is how Africa spoke to the EARTH for 30,000 YARS. When your billion-dollar AR satellites failed, my grandmother's primitive song saved 500 lives. She played the drum like a here beat. Then unleashed data from her rainwater traps, 300% yield boost. The girl's ecology scrolls, science verified. Proof of Ngang's corruption. You say Africa needs saving and oh, we hold the keys. Tear down this wall of Standa RDS and skin. Let our wisdom count. Silence. Then thunderous applause. The Nordic delegate looked ashamed. The UN official's eyes glimmered with something new. The app that changed everything. Her speech went viral, 100 views in 24 hours. The Secretary General met her personally. Best of all, her Africa Climate Resilience app got full UN backing. That app combined her rainwater models. Grandmother alerts, ant migrations, bird patterns. Low-cost fixes in 12 African languages. 10 million users in 3 months. Mares avoided droughts. Herds were saved from floods. Aya won the Young Champions of the EARTH Road at 22, she became the UN's youngest senior climate advisor. Standing in the UN Tower, watching New York's glittering lights, Aya touched her silver collar. Then her phone buzzed. Lila's text, Ngang's mene back. They're digging up the canals. IMY stood frozen at the UN's floor-to-ceiling window, Manhattan's skyline glittering like a false promise. Her phone screen burned with Lila's text, Ngang's ecotourism zone breaks ground in 3 days. They're bulldozing the camp. Her fingers trembled. 3 days. 3 days until the land that birthed her, the girl's sweat, the grandmother's wisdom, the stubborn green shoots fighting through drought, would be paved over for luxury villas. All under the lie of eco-development. Rage boiled in her veins. But deeper than rage, responsibility. She wasn't the girl eating mud anymore. She was the UN's youngest climate chief. And she'd fight like one. She called Lila, boy steel cold, activate TruthWeb. I want every document, environmental reports, land permits, money trails. Especially Ngang's son's shell companies. Hack if you must. 72 hours. Next, the UN Secretary General. Sir, a crisis threatens our Africa Climate Resilience Project. I need to go home. He approved instantly. At Kisaru Airport, cameras flashed. Aya. Back as UN climate chief, is this revenge? She turned, her Masai silver kala are glinting under TV lights. Revenge? No. I'm here to bury an era where skin and pedigree decide who's excellent. To defend land. Life. The right to know. The crowd erupted. IA returns trended nationwide. But whispers slithered through back channels. Drop this, and we'll make you environment minister. PA Reliament, even. Be a national hero. Aya laughed bitterly. Power's oldest trick, buying silence with titles. She refused. In the Grand Hall, under the national flag, Aya didn't plead. She accused. Honorable members, I stand not as a UN official, but as the girl your excellence once locked out. She showed them of the camp's ashes. The app's impact, 300,000 mares saved. The ecotourism fraud, fake permits, Ngang's son's dirty deals. This development isn't for Africa. It's a gold-plated cage for the elite. Then, the kill shot. She played the video. Principal Ngang, smirking, tearing her admission letter. The room exploded. Ngang's own son, a spoiled gambler drowning in debt, panicked. He sold out his father, leaking stolen drought relief funds. Bribes from foreign developers. The original campaigner son ordered. National TV aired it all. Ngang's empire crumbled overnight. That night, Aya slipped back to Stone Springs. Moonlight bathed the camp's ruins. Among the red beams, something green. Calanda sprouts. Alive. She knelt, touching a leaf. From the village, Masaiwar drums throbbed a song for her. She looked Tawa RD Kisaru's distant lights. Ngang's fall was just the start. The real wall, the one in mines, in schools, in policies, still stood. But tonight, with dirt under her nails and ancestral silver at her throat, IMY smiled. Let them come. IMY walked into the Supreme Court of Nzala not as the UN's climate chief, but as the girl who'd once eaten dirt at Principal Ngang's gates. The nation held its breath. This wasn't just a land dispute. It was war. War between the old elite and the new Africa. Ngang's slick lawyer went first, oozing poison. Your Honor, this so-called girls' science camp is illegal squatting. Ms. Moy uses her UN title to push foreign agendas. Aya didn't flinch. She stood and stripped off her navy blazer, revealing a faded Maasai red dress underneath. Gasps filled the room. Today, she said, folding the jacket neatly, I stand not as a UN official, but as the child Ngang's gates once locked out. Then, she pulled out her weapons. Her grandmother's Fire SCA Red Herb book, saved when colonizers burned their village. Elders bark paper scrolls detailing land rest cycles and water sank to a rise. When you judge African land by British law, she asked, did you ever read our EARTH's constitution? The judges froze. Ngang's lawyer choked on his champagne tongue. Aya's legal team dropped the final bomb, Ngang shredding her admission letter, 4K video. Stolen drought funds funneled to his son's Dubai accounts. Game over. The chief judge's gavel cracked. Ruling, the ecotourism project is void. Land restored to IMY. Designated National Ecological Heritage Site. The courtroom erupted. Maasai girls in camp uniforms burst into ancestral war songs, their voices shaking the chandeliers. Aya stood still, red dress rippling in the sonic storm. Outside the windows, moonlight lit the hills. Tawa RD Stone Springs, where new green shoots pushed through cracked EARTH. Ngang's downfall was total. Stripped of titles, assets seized, sentenced to hard labor, the once proud principal now right an empty schoolhouse in the northern wastes, a broken man chewing on his own bitterness. Then came the letter. Rain tapped against Aya's office window at the new girls' science campus. She unfolded the shaky and signed note. IMY, my son, overdosed. Dying in prison. Doctors say he won't last winter without treatment. I deserve hell. But as a father, I beg you. Save him. K.A. Rusingang, the paper slipped from her fingers. Save him. The architect of her pain. The man had burned her dreams and laughed. Vengeance burned hot in her throat until her mother's voice whispered through the storm, Maasai don't kill wounded lions. Not from weakness. For balance. Aya closed her eyes. Saw Ngong T ring her letter. Saw sneering judges calling her tribal. Saw every face that ever said, you don't belong. If she let his son die, wasn't she just another elitist judging who deserved to live? She activated UN medical channels anonymously. Got Ngang's son into rehab. Media exploded, saint or schemer. Aya saves enemy's son. Camera shoved in her face. Aya stood firm, I didn't save a villain. I saved a life poisoned by the same lies that once crushed me. True excellence lighting even the darkest corners. The world held its breath. Then, her masterstroke. She bought Ngang's ruined New Light Academy. Bulldozers came not to build cages, but bridges. Where iron gates once stood, a simple stone now read in Swahili, English, Maasai no door. Here, every HART holds STARS. They called it Ashworth Academy. On opening day, kids of all colors, herders' daughters, disabled teens, even we rich kids raced across its yardless fields. As ceremonies ended, a hunched figure lingered at the entrance. White-haired. We ring a threadbare suit. Ngang. Aya walked over, met his trembling gaze. Principal, she said softly, you may enter now. As a man who remembers. Ashworth Academy had no gates, no fences, yet it stood as the strongest fortress in Nzala. A fortress writing two sacred things, equal knowledge, and the dignity of every life. Sunlight spilled freely across its playgrounds. Laughter echoed in every classroom. Why didn't take the title of principal? She became its first lifelong mentor. And her classroom. Everywhere. One morning, I led new students to the school CRT, not to a grand statue, but to a patch of ground paved with broken bricks. Each piece was salvaged from New Light Academy's demolished gates, walls, and lecture halls. Between the cracks, thick green calendar leaves pushed through. I knelt, running her fingers over a leaf. Children, she said softly, you're standing on the ashes of the old world. The gate that locked me out. The walls that called themselves excellence. Now just soil for roots. She picked up a jagged brick, its edge still a ring new light-scorched crest. See, this had once decided who was worthy. Now it's just a stepping stone for your feet. A city boy, transferred from an elite prep school, hesitated. Teacher, does that make us the new elite? Aya laughed, her smile like a rainbow over Stone Springs. Elite, no. Here, we don't crown elites. We grow humans. Elite is a medal for the few. Human is the birthright of all. She stood, pointing skyway road. Your worth isn't in your skin, your parents, or your test scores. It's in whether you're like this Calanda, finding water in the driest cracks, reaching for the sun. In honoring grandma's songs and chasing cosmic truths. In shouting no to injustice and building the yes that follows. Placing the brick back, she patted the resilient plant. Let old ashes feed new roots. Let hate's ruins bloom with understanding. That's Ashworth's real motto. Lila rushed over, breathless. Iya. UN Secretary General's urgent summons. The Africa Climate App global rollout. And she hesitated. Ngon's son. He's recovered. Wants to see you. Iya gazed Tawa RD Kisaru. Where new light once stood, now only Ashworth's green shoots remained. Her battles weren't over. But walls had fallen. Paths had opened. And she'd walk them, not as STAR to worship, but as a light for the lost.